What is up, Pokemon trainers? Pokemon Winds and Waves, Ball Guy leak. What does any of this mean? I have literally no idea. Zach sent me a title for what we're going to be recording today, and I'm looking at it probably as confused as some of you are. But if you guys do know what it is, please enjoy as I learn what it is and we kind of discuss what that's about. So without further ado, Zach, do you want to explain what in the world the Ball Guy leak is and what this means for Winds and Waves? Because I'm dying to know, man. I'm really excited.
All right, absolutely. I'm very excited to talk about this today. First of all, I will say I titled it leak. So what I sent to Joe was like Ball Guy leaks, but that's because that's what the internet is titling it. Everyone is saying the Ball Guy leaks, yada yada. So that is what people are calling it. But after Beat 'em Ups, I don't know if you guys know who Beat 'em Ups is, but like after he did his video where he like took the internet by storm and was like he made a bunch of fake leaks, and then he made a whole video about how like people call them leaks when he never called them leaks, yada yada. I think I'm just being a little more careful with calling anything a leak. I'm just gonna say these are rumors. Like these are just straight up rumors. All right.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
fair enough.
So whatever you think about the Wood situation, I think at the very least it did help people be like, okay, yeah, I think we use the word leak a little too often. You know, that's fair. But yeah, let's talk about some of these Ball Guy rumors. Again, if you look them up online, they're gonna say leaks, but they're not leaks until they're proven right.
They're rumors, guys.
They're rumors. But I'm going to start with my favorite, guys. I'm not going to leave you dangling with a carrot. You know, we're going to go right to my favorite. And he posted this photo on Twitter, on X, if you will, a while back. And it's got this graphic. It says, in case of emergency, break the glass. And there's a big V, and there's this like, you know, thing where you can break the glass. And then there's what looks like a monkey or something. Like it has its like hands over its mouth. And so it's like not talking. So it's got this vibe of like, okay, you haven't been allowed to talk for a long time, but now maybe you are allowed to talk. And a lot of people are equating this to meaning that in Winds and Waves, we're going to finally get characters talking. We're finally going to get voiceover. We're going to get actual dialogue in a Pokemon game. Now, I should say quickly, Ball Guy, a lot of people have different opinions about him. Some people think he's an incredibly reliable leaker, and some people think that he is just a liar. I mean, I think he's similar to a lot of Pokemon leakers. Like they get some things right and they get some things wrong. Just so you guys have some credibility, so we're not just talking about someone who has no credibility at all. Before the Winds and Waves trailer came out, he retweeted this thing from some website. It was 4chan or something else. But someone had said the trio is going to look like this: slimy, large, bulbous tail, deep purple eyes, almost feminine, and then thick green brow, little dark feet, almost like an angry baby. What does that sound like? And then puffy front side tongue constantly out. Sounds exactly like the starters.
Wow.
And like that was basically the only one that he chose to talk about was that one, and it was very much like the eye emoji thing where he's like, yeah, this is legit. And then he called it, you know, that was the one he was putting his claim behind before the trailer came out. It did come out, and that's exactly what the Pokemon were. That's exactly Brout, Gekwa, and then of course our little Pombon. But anyway, so yeah, that's just a little bit towards his credibility. I'm not going to go into everything. He's gotten plenty of things wrong, but I think we're mainly talking about this because everything he's talking about is stuff I want anyway. So regardless of it, him being accurate, I think these also just make sense. If we look at like what Breath of the Wild has done with like Legend of Zelda, it brought dialogue in a huge way that we hadn't seen before. And I feel like it's finally time. Like this is Switch 2. Like if Pokemon is ever gonna like dive into the modern century, it's time to have voiceover and like dialogue in a Pokemon game. And I think this makes perfect sense. I will also say I usually feel like Pokemon games, they hint at what's to come next. And like, if you look at Legends ZA, there is so much dialogue in that game, in that game, to the point where it's almost ridiculous that they are not actually talking. I don't think I've ever seen so much dialogue in a Pokemon game to the point where literally it seems absurd. They're not just using actual words. And I feel like the fact that there's been so much backlash of people talking around that, and the fact that they put so much dialogue in the game, I kind of feel like it's their way of like, they always progressively do more of something. And the fact that they did more dialogue than ever, I think it's a good sign that we are going to actually get talking characters in this game, not talking Pokemon. I don't think we're going to have a Detective Pikachu Ryan Reynolds situation. Honestly, once they start that, I'm out. I'm leaving. I don't want to hear my Pokemon talk.
I think we're good. It set its course.
But I'm definitely excited and ready for characters to talk. Even if it's not the main character, I don't even need the main character to talk. Like that can be kind of like a Link situation where he doesn't say much, he or she doesn't say much. But like just the other people in the world, like just the NPCs. I want the NPCs to talk. Even if it's like a Fire Emblem situation, like with 3 houses where they'll say like a bit of dialogue and then from then it goes to a text box, like, and then you can like scroll through. But like just having those initial bits of dialogue, I think is so important. Anyway, that's the big one I wanted to go over. There are a couple more. I'll kind of briefly touch on these and then I'll get kind of your opinion, Joe. But the other ones he's talked about is kind of the catching mechanics. Someone asked him what the catching mechanics were going to be, and he tweeted saying, catching systems remain rather. I haven't heard something more on the additional Pokeball mechanics. And then someone said, can we expect real-time catching in Winds and Waves? And he said, you can. At one point, I heard of a mechanic for charging balls before release, unsure if this has remained. So I love the idea of us being able to like charge up a Pokeball or a Great Ball, Ultra Ball, etc. And like that will have a different reaction. So like maybe if we charge it, it's stronger. Or maybe on certain Pokemon, you want to release it quicker. Maybe if they're a faster Pokemon, they'll get away if you do the charge mechanic, etc. I don't know. I think that's really interesting. Touch on that briefly. And then the last main one I wanted to talk about is basically whether or not the game is going to be turn-based or if it's going to be real time. And he has the most interesting take of all, because we've talked about this before, that we've said why we thought it might be turn based, why we think it might be real time. We had real time battling in Legends EA. We had turn based in almost every other game since. But he said, someone said, do you know if Gaia utilizes a turn-based or real-time battling system? I'd really like to know. And he said, the greatest example I can provide for this is a more seamless version of Pokemon Legends Arceus' combat, automatically occurring battles, free roam movement with a plethora of additions from ZA, such as AoE effects, more moves. It is turn-based, yes, and the best possible implementation. So that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that is what he said. But now, Joe, I want to kind of like just take it to you. And what are your initial reactions to all of those?
Yeah. So I mean, let's run down. Let's run down the list.
Let's talk about dialogue first. Voiceover.
You started with dialogue.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think that was the perfect way to start it off. I am dying to see it. I think it's ridiculous that we don't have that. Especially, and I want to preface this, right? It's not ridiculous that we don't have voiceover exactly, right? I don't care too much. You can have a good game and not have voiceover. That's fine. My issue with the Pokemon Company and Game Freak in general is they insist on having scenes that are totally built around dialogue.
100%.
This is where it just baffles me. As a ZA defender, I'm a big lover of that game. Those were the greatest cutscenes we have seen in a Pokemon game ever. Just visually, the way they looked. When it was showing an actual cutscene, it was animated beautifully. It looked beautiful. But they just didn't speak. And what drove me crazy is the characters would move their mouths as if they're saying words. So why are we animating that? It just makes zero sense. And we can go back to when I think the problem was at its height. The moment people realized this is ridiculous was Sword and Shield. When we had Piers singing a song. There was an actual concert. He's singing a song and there's zero lyrics. We read the lyrics, but there's no dialogue. There's no actual...
Ridiculous.
You cannot hear someone singing this. So, I mean, it's just...
Just imagine like
do it like you said.
Imagine Mario Odyssey,
Switch
the end of the game, Pauline like was singing and it's like just dialogue. Like that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just it's the instrumental and then the box. Like it's so dumb to me. It's like
so stupid.
Just genuine bad game making. So I that's almost the biggest thing for me in general. I mean I'm begging for this one to be true. I will sacrifice the Nets 2 just for this to be true. Genuinely.
100%.
They need to talk. I'm tired of it. But next up on the docket was the charging balls before you throw them. I think that's super cool. And what's funny about these Nets 2 that you paired is they kind of seem like evolutions from the Legends games, right? Obviously, when we look at Legends Arceus, we know that game was kind of built around catching. So if we have like a little bit more of a seamless version of that with this charging, giving us extra options, like you said, maybe for a slower Pokemon, it made sense to charge it and get that like stronger chance that you're catching it, whatever percentage it would go up. Whereas if you're catching something faster, you're just like, I don't have time to charge it, gonna throw it. we're going to have the whatever the normal catch rate is. I think that's super cool and adds kind of like an interesting dynamic to catching that I don't think anybody has even really asked for. But that's what makes it such a cool idea is it's Game Freak going like, how can we evolve this in a way that like is interesting, different, but doesn't change up the formula too much. So I really appreciate that. And I would also love to see that in there. And then lastly, which is very contentious for us, is the battle system. I kind of love the way you pitched it here. So Ball Guy, like you said, I think is coming at it in a way that we probably didn't really think about. Like, what if it is turn-based, but maybe placement of your Pokemon matters, right? So you kind of said something like the AoEs. Very interesting. Yeah. So like if I start a battle with someone and I'm a little bit further away, will it make it harder for certain moves to land? Like it does bring this kind of interesting, almost Fire Emblem-esque battle system to it, right? Where placement is now important. It's not just getting into a battle and picking your moves. It's like, how do I, before I get into this battle, place myself and my Pokemon in a way that makes this more advantageous to me? Like, can we see us go up to a wild Pokemon from behind and get extra damage from, you know, surprising it, something like ZA, but in a more turn-based setting. So I think that's super cool. And funny enough, we got a lot of pushback on our video where we mentioned that we liked the ZA combat. I don't know if you've seen the comments from that, but it seemed like a lot of people kind of disagreed with us in going that route. This seems like a very, very happy middle ground. We're keeping that tactical RPG style, but now we're adding more tactic to it rather than going full on like real-time combat. So it's a fun way to mix up the turn-based without going, let's throw away everything Pokemon, mainline Pokemon is and do this different thing. So I mean, I would love to see it. All three of these kind of like tickle me in a way as of a Pokemon fan where I'm like, this is exciting now.
Right.
So Ball Guy, I'm not too familiar with your game, but I hope you're not lying to us, because we will hunt you down. We'll get revenge for you getting our hopes up. But
we'll send our own
I think it's super cool. our own Nintendo Ninjas. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I love it. And I honestly, guys, if you're new to this, if you haven't heard these rumors, not leaks, don't say leaks, don't spread those out there. But if you've heard these rumors, let us know in the comment section below. Are you guys excited about this? Do you think that these are correct steps in the next generation? Because, personally, I think these are all really cool.
I would be surprised if you didn't want dialogue in a Pokemon game. But anyway, guys, that has been Bros and Badges, our podcast. We will be back again tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you. And let's Winds and Wave out of here.